Welcome back. In this section, we'll learn how to visualize and present data. To begin, I'd like to cover some of the basic motivations behind visualizing data. The core purpose of visualizing data is to summarize it in a way to simplify the data, tell a story, and ultimately create intuitive insights. Simply visualizing data does not necessarily simplify it. In fact, sometimes it does the opposite. We'll be diving deeper into this idea in a few moments. So what is a data visualization? There are many types, but in this course, we're going to focus on tables, charts, and dual axis charts. In this lecture, we'll discuss whether a table or a chart is appropriate for a sample dataset. When to use tables versus charts. Often, we are tasked with summarizing a dataset to help someone else understand it. Most often, we'll have the option to present data in a simple table or visualize it in a chart. In order to decide which one is best, there are a few critical questions we must ask. The first is this big data or small data? As a rule of thumb, you don't generally want to visualize small data in a chart. Small data would be just a few data points, maybe 5, 10, or 20 pieces of data. Big data would represent hundreds, thousands, or even millions of records. Data that would be impossible to understand without a chart or deeper analysis. The second question is, will your user ask you for the underlying data if you create a chart? If the answer is yes, then you've created a chart which is less helpful than the actual data itself. If your end user looks at a chart and tries to reverse engineer it to figure out the underlying data, then you've been unsuccessful. Just give them the data up front and don't bother with the chart. The next point to remember is not to underestimate your audience. People are smart, and often the people you're presenting data to are the people you report to. Don't oversimplify things. A helpful way to remember that raw numbers are easy to consume is to look at ESPN.com. This is an example that Edward Tufty, one of the pioneers in the field of data visualization, likes to use. ESPN is packed with data, all kinds of stats, no charts. But the website is built for sports fans, not academics. And these people can easily consume a tremendous amount of raw data. And so the last piece is, what story are you telling? Are you telling the story that revenue is going up? Are you telling the story that margins are bouncing around? Are you trying to show a correlation? Make sure that your visualization transforms the data into the simple story that you're trying to tell. So in our example, we have 4 records that contain a date, a sales number, and a gross profit number. We're trying to decide whether to present this data in a table or a chart. The first thing I'd like to do is add a gross profit percent column onto my table, which I added here. Now, which presentation is better? Well, we're dealing with a small data set here, and if we give our users the chart, will they ask for the underlying data? They probably will. And what is the story we want to tell? To me, the rising revenue is easy to see in a chart or a table. However, the volatility and the gross profit margin is easier to see in the table than the chart. So in this case, I would use a table to present this data. In our next lecture, we'll learn how to visualize a data set using a basic chart.